Hey guys, thanks for joining us for week 3 of our series, QuaranTIPS. And in this series, here's what we want to do. We just want to bring a little social wisdom during this time of social isolation. And today, we're going to tackle a very relevant topic, working from home. Now, a lot of us had no experience in this and has been thrust on so many people throughout our country right now. And we're going to sit down with an expert who's been doing this for a while for a few tips. Check it out.
Well, hey, thank you again for joining us. I am with Josh. He is our creative arts director at Cross Church Phoenix. And the reason, not that we just wanted to make up a fancy title, is not only does he lead us on worship on Sundays, but he does so much in creating graphics for us, social media, just does a ton of leadership capital that helps kind of push a lot of our stuff on the church side forward. But the reason we're talking to him today is he also works another job where he works remotely, does things that I don't even understand. But he's been working remotely for how many years now?
Close to 6 years now, which is pretty crazy.
Wow. So here's what everyone wants to know about working remotely is how much smaller is your pants budget when you work remotely as in an office?
I think it's less about how much smaller is your pants budget and how much smaller is like your nice clothes budget, where like I really only need to like wear super nice clothes on holidays and church. And after that, it becomes a lot easier to handle.
That is so true. I worked for Target in the corporate world and I had so many polos. And now I'm like, I have all these in my closet that I just probably should get rid of, but I never wear that stuff anymore.
Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, to start us out, we just want to talk a little bit. And obviously, some people have been thrusted into this and working from home because of necessity. You're a pro at this. So the first thing I kind of have for you is there a different mindset between working at home and working in the office?
Yeah, I would say there definitely is. And I first want to like preface this by saying like, it is different now. Working from home, kind of being thrust into this atmosphere, things are going to be different. So everything I say is going to, it's going to take some getting used to, but at the same time, like it is a different mindset completely. I think one of the main things that helps kind of getting in that work from home mindset is to keep your routine that you normally would have had if you're commuting. Now, I really only worked like a couple jobs where I've commuted, and it was that whole process of getting up, getting dressed, brushing your teeth, brushing your hair, getting some. I don't drink coffee, but some people get some coffee, they get some breakfast, you're driving to work. All this is a routine that you just get used to while you're working. And I think for working from home, it's no different. A lot of people think that, I can work from home, I can just roll out of bed or stay in bed, grab my laptop, prop it up on me, and be able to go. No, you're going to lose a lot of productivity doing that. And I think the biggest thing and keeping your mindset focused is just getting dressed, having a morning routine and keeping it. Like I wear shorts and a t-shirt pretty much every day, but at the same time, like it's one of those things where just the mindset of getting dressed, doing my hair, putting on a hat, whatever I do, but then also being able to walk from my bedroom or from wherever you are to a dedicated workspace.
Mm.
I think that's a big thing too. Is just like having the mindset of separating what you normally do and being in a dedicated workspace. And I think, some people might not have the opportunity. Like I have a completely separate bedroom from my office. And some people are like, I just started working from home, I don't really have a new completely separate bedroom. But for those people, I would say just create something different. If it's one space on your kitchen table that's only used for work, or maybe one of your other family members sits at it when you're eating dinner, I don't know, but use that separate space for your work. Make it something different. Don't just work on the couch, don't just work from your bed. Have a separate workspace where like, okay, when I'm in there, when I'm on this chair, when I'm sitting on next to this desk or sitting at this table, like this is my work.
So what you're saying is it's okay if right away you don't have a DJ set up with LED lighting behind you and the mic like you're about to host some late night smooth jazz or something like that.
Exactly. I mean, I'll probably like, it's one of those things where the tools really don't matter at the same time too, where like I really don't need this microphone. I don't need all
You
this
look
behind
so
me.
cool with it though.
Well, thank you. But at the same time, like I think like there's a thought of like, oh, the more tools I need, or even the more space I need, the more productive I'm going to be. And that's not really the case either. Like I feel like I can be just as productive if I'm sitting at my desk, nothing else turned on, just with my laptop, as if I was, right here, right now.
Yeah, that's good. And I love what you said about there, kind of having that routine, getting ready. One of the things that's I'll be honest, just kind of driving me crazy about Zoom calls is it seems like been the life lately, and and a lot of Zoom calls with people who aren't used to them. So whether
Oh
it's
yeah.
other pastors or kind of in my other job that I do is seeing guys who just aren't people who aren't getting ready. And it just seems like you lack that productivity and getting into the routine when even if you just don't show like you're ready for the day and going to tackle whatever it is that's kind of on your schedule.
Exactly. If you don't feel like you're ready, if you don't feel like anything has changed from 5 hours ago when you woke up, then you're not going to feel like being productive at all during the day. You're not going to feel like marking those items off of your work checklist or your task list or anything like that, because you're like, it's just a day. But as soon as you start making it into something, as changing your mindset to say, hey, actually at work, things start, your productivity kind of just shoots through the roof.
So you mentioned in there kind of working through what you have, and you kind of talked a little bit about the schedule there.
Mhm.
Tell me the difference with calendar, because so many people love and have this idea of working from home is great because it's flexible and I can work. And then sometimes and I got to like push back on our staff with you. We're like, oh, I can ask Josh to do this right now because he works from home, so he can do that whenever. So I can ask him to do something for the church right now. But how important is a calendar and having a schedule to working from home?
Yeah, I would say, there's multiple different people and personalities that kind of flow into this. I was never the kind of person to like schedule out my day. Like even in college, I kind of just like kept it in my head. I was like, oh, I have this class from this to this, and I'll do the homework, sometime there. But honestly, it has been a huge help being able to make a schedule and stick with it, especially like for myself, like you mentioned, I have multiple jobs. I work for the church. Have a full-time job here. Like it's tough to keep things separated at sometimes. But I think one of the things that when I first wanted and started looking for a lot of remote jobs, I was kind of, I had that preconceived notion in my mind of, oh, if I get a remote job, I can work from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. every single day. And if I focus and get all my work done, then I'm good for the rest of the day. And usually for most jobs, this is not going to be the case, right? So I would say having flexible hours doesn't necessarily create a flexible mindset. And what I mean by that is you just because you're like, oh, I can get my work done whenever I want, doesn't that mean it's the best for how you work and it's the best for productivity. So I would say create a schedule of, hey, I'm going to work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to work during those times. I can take breaks. You take breaks during an office. You take breaks during the day. But at the same time, during 9 to 5, I'm going to work. After 5, I'm not going to check my email. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to log into my work computer, nothing like that. So I would say, with that, be able to create your schedule around what you need to do. If you're someone who needs to stick with the schedule and you're like, oh, I don't have time in my schedule, then create time for yourself. If it's like, hey, I need 30 minutes to eat lunch. I need 30 minutes to step away from my desk, go into the kitchen, make myself a lunch, and sit down, not at your desk, eating your lunch, then schedule 30 minutes to do that. I would say I even get into the habit of scheduling just 10 minutes, 15 minutes for just mental breaks for myself. A lot of times, especially with my work, I kind of get into these habits of overthinking too much. And sometimes just taking 15 minutes to walk outside, smell the sun, everything like that just really helps in terms of clearing my mind. And sometimes you need to schedule yourself in time to do that.
What does the sun smell like?
Just that in Phoenix, especially for those
It
listening
smells
who
like
live in Phoenix.
burning.
Yeah, it smells like there's the ground in front of you is burning up in the atmosphere.
Yeah, we're so close to the sun, you can just see the steam and smell it coming off.
Exactly.
Um, I like that. That's good. Well, coming with that and in talking about schedule, and
Hmm.
then my next question is, what about staying on schedule? Because I think possibly the hardest thing, and what I've heard more from anyone, and you don't have little kids at home, but we'll talk more about that in a second. But
Yeah.
just in general, distractions, notifications, and like there is so much when you're on your phone, and it still happens at work, but I feel at home it's even more of you hit dinging, someone knocks on the door, blah blah, whatever. How do you deal with all distractions?
Oh yeah, it's tough, and like I used to be the majority of the time that I've worked remote. I was single, and it was a lot easier to handle those distractions. I was living with friends and living with like roommates and living with my grandparents for a short time, and it's one of those things where you do have distractions, like and I whether it's UPS people knocking on our door or someone mowing the lawn right out front of your house, those distractions just happen. I think the biggest thing is to eliminate as much of them as we can. So one of the things I like to do is, even if I'm on my laptop and I'm at work, I'm going to turn off all of my notifications. And what that means is I'm just, if it's something that I need to check, I'm probably going to be checking it manually and checking my email or checking my, we use Slack at work. I'm going to be checking all those things for those notifications. I don't need it popping up when I'm in the middle of something. I think for your phone, I think either don't bring it to your work, don't bring it to your office, but if you do, and you're able to stay self-controlled like through that time, turn off your notifications on it, turn off the alarm, turn off the vibrate, and just have it there for if you need it. um, but yeah, I think one of the other things uh, that I've kind of learned is be able to, and I like you said, I don't have kids just yet, but it's one of those things where we have to um, communicate those boundaries with the people that we live with. Of sometimes people might think, oh, they work from home, I can just walk in and talk with them whatever they want, and usually that's not the case, right? You might get distracted. You only get 1 hour of work done in 4 hours. So I would say talk to the people you live with, especially if your kids are older. Talk to your kids and talk to your spouses and just say, hey, if I have my headphones on, that means don't bother me. If I have the door closed, that means I'm in a meeting, or simple things like that, where you have just one or two things that really identifies you're in the zone. And then that way, they know that, hey, if you don't have your headphones on, or if you have the door open, you're kind of free to be able to be talked
I'm gonna just walk around my house with my headphones in at all times.
to.
I don't think my 2 and 3 year old will respond well.
Oh no.
Um, but last kind of one of the questions I have for you before we do a wrap up is what are some tools? I know we said you don't really need a lot to get started with working online, but what are some just like easy tools that you can have that help make the online or the working from home experience so much easier?
Yeah, I would say a lot of it is just using things that you have. I know for in the music world, and just with, I love technology. I love getting new things, trying out new things. A lot of times I think, oh, if I just had that, I would be more productive. If I just had those, noise canceling headphones, I wouldn't hear the neighbor across the street mowing his lawn. I would be so much more productive. And usually that's not the case. If you only needed one thing, I would say, you have to have a laptop, you have to have a computer. But I would say find a pair of headphones just to clear and have a different mindset of, okay, when I'm working, I might not be that focused. I might be, working on multiple different things, might be multitasking. But when that time comes, when I need to dive into an issue, when I need to jump on a phone call or a meeting, headphones means I'm focused. Headphones means I'm in the uh, kind of in the zone for work. And I think just even if you have a cheap pair of headphones that are like $5 or that came with your phone, just having those for those times when you need to separate yourself mentally helps so much.
Hmm. Cool. Well, closing thing I'd want to ask is, where are some good places, some good resources to point people to for just continuing learning on how to best be efficient from home?
Yeah, definitely. I think especially one of the biggest resources is just learning how to use the tools you have. Whether you're like, oh, I need a to-do list on my computer or need pen and paper to write down a to-do list. Like all those things help you, and each person is different. How you learn, how you work is going to be different. So using the tools you have, and even if it's just like, hey, I have a Windows laptop, or I have a MacBook, being able to learn and find YouTube videos of how to best do that, it helps so much. I would say one of the things that I'm going to kind of link below is also with kids. There's a great seminar that a homeschooler dad kind of puts on about working from home with kids. And it's so helpful just to be able to say, I'm not there yet, but at the same time, how do you set those boundaries? How do you kind of break up your workday? So at the same time, you're still productive, but you're learning how to do it with little ones in the house. And then I think another great resource is a company called Basecamp. They were one of the pioneers for working from home. I think they were doing it in early 2002. So they've been doing it for quite a while, but they have some great resources and videos just to talk through a little bit about, using the tools that you have at your disposal, but then also just creating workflows, creating a to-do list, creating a mindset of separating yourself from your life and working productively.
Awesome. That's great. I mean, I think we've seen a major shift, obviously with what's happened over these last few months. But this shift, usually when tragedy happens, it can change things for good. And I've already heard so much inklings of companies who are finding out, hey, my employees maybe only need to come in twice a week and can work 3 days a week from home. So it's definitely a shifting landscape, and not something just to get us by through this quarantine, but possibly of how can we apply this for the years to come as well. So thank you for your time, Josh, and we appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.